Okay, so when Apple dropped the Vision Pro, it was supposed to be this huge leap forward, right? The dawn of spatial computing. But there was this one giant glaring problem, a massive video-shaped hole in its App Store that got everyone talking. So let's get into the drama around this one single app and why its surprise arrival might just change everything for Apple's big bet.
Right from the jump, the Vision Pro had this weird contradiction going on. On one hand, you had this piece of tech that felt like it was pulled straight from a sci-fi movie. But then, you looked for the apps you actually use every day for, entertainment, and it was kinda empty. A real ghost town.
And this really gets to the heart of the problem. On the one hand, Apple is promising you this whole new era of computing. But the reality? Well, if you were one of the first people to get one, you'd fire up this amazing new device, only to realize that some of the biggest players in the game just weren't there.
And look, we're not talking about some small niche apps here. We're talking about the absolute giants. YouTube, it's the biggest video site on the planet. Netflix, the name that's basically synonymous with streaming. And Spotify, where pretty much everyone gets their music and podcasts. For them to be missing, well, that wasn't just a small issue. It was a massive gaping hole you just couldn't miss.
And it wasn't even a case of, oh, it's coming soon. No. Google, the company that owns YouTube, came out and officially said they had no plans to make an app. Think about that. For a brand new, super expensive piece of hardware, having a titan like Google basically say, nah, we're good, we're going to sit this one out. That is a really, really tough pill to swallow.
So you can just imagine what those first few weeks were like for the people who actually bought one. It must have been so awkward. You've got this incredible, revolutionary device on your face, but you can't even watch your favorite YouTube channels on it properly. You're locked out of the stuff you do every single day.
The only way around it was, well, less than ideal. You had to use this clunky workaround. You'd open up the Safari browser inside the Vision Pro, go to the YouTube website, and just watch it like you would on a normal computer. It was this flat, boring 2D window that just completely defeated the whole purpose of spatial computing, right? It was like buying a Ferrari just to sit in traffic.
So let's just quickly recap that initial struggle. The Vision Pro launches in February 2024, and the hype is just off the charts. But almost immediately, that balloon gets popped when Google confirms, nope, no app from us. So for the first couple of months, this cloud of uncertainty is just hanging over the whole thing, and all the early users are stuck with that clunky Safari experience. Not great.
And we have to remember the price tag that's attached to all this frustration. We're talking about a device that starts at $3,500. For that kind of money, you're not just expecting a good experience. You're expecting a flawless, seamless, premium experience. So the expectations were, justifiably through the roof.
And that really led to the million-dollar question, or I guess the $3,500 question. Could you really justify paying that much for a device when something as basic as watching YouTube was so broken? For a lot of people who were on the fence about buying one, the answer was a pretty firm no way. It was a deal breaker.
But then, just when it seemed like this was going to be the story, the big app that refused to play ball, something happened. The whole script got flipped, completely unexpectedly.
Pretty much out of the blue, with no big announcement or anything, a surprise update just appeared. Something new showed up in the App Store for Vision OS.
And there it was, the official, honest-to-goodness YouTube app. Google had done a complete 180 on their decision. The biggest name that was missing, they were suddenly in the game.
So, you might be thinking, okay, cool, an app showed up, what's the big deal? Well, it actually is a huge deal. The arrival of just this one app sends these massive shockwaves through the whole Vision Pro world, and it's really worth digging into why this matters so much.
Okay, so the significance here really boils down to three main things. First, it's a massive vote of confidence. Second, it just makes the experience of using the device way, way better. And third, and maybe this is the most important one, it sends a huge signal to all the other developers out there who were just kind of waiting and watching.
And that reversal, that's the whole story right there. It's so much more than just a new app on your home screen. It's Google, one of the biggest tech companies in the world, basically saying, okay, maybe we were wrong. This thing is for real. When a giant like that does a complete U-turn, it's a massive stamp of approval. It tells every other developer that, hey, the Vision Pro is a serious platform and it's time to get on board. It just gives so much credibility to a device that, honestly, had a lot of people questioning if it would even last.
So this really changes the whole reality for the Vision Pro. Now the experience is finally what it was supposed to be, what people paid all that money for. No more fiddling with a web browser, just smooth native content. That huge question mark that was hanging over the device has been replaced with a giant exclamation point. And it could create this incredible domino effect. It's not just some ambitious project anymore, it's a platform where the biggest names are now willing to show up. Which leaves us all with the critical question, now that the first and biggest domino has fallen, who's going to be next?